Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a Hail Mary, if we're being honest. Questor Forgepact came out, and I didn't give it much of a fair chance, I guess. I'm not going to try to convince you that this is better than the regular index detachment too terribly well. Um, I think there are stronger strengths than I gave it credit for, and of course weaker weaknesses, right? Well, to be honest, I knew the weaknesses. I think we all did, but I think there's some things here that actually are better than credit was definitely given. Again, not going to be great, but I think there is a bit more play than what I previously said. So let's remember what Questor Forgepact does. Imperial Knights get to heal in the command phase 1 Lost Wound. If that unit is within 3 inches of one or more friendly Tech Priest models, one model in this unit regains up to D3 Lost Wounds. Cool. Um, Add mech units from your army have the following ability. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If this unit is within 6 inches of one or more friendly Imperial Knights units, reroll a wound roll of 1 as well. Forge World Allies, you can bring Tech Priest Dominus, Tech Priest Manipulus, Scutari Marshal, Scutari Ranger, Scutari Vanguard. Up to 500 points. To this point, I've realized something here. Why did that do that? Sorry. Something here that is a combination that's okay. And it's interesting how I've talked about it being fairly tough for opponents to deal with as Old One Eye. So essentially becoming Old One Eye, well, light, because it's your command phase. Like, this is you are becoming Call, I guess it's closer. If anybody has had an issue taking down Call, it's kind of funny that we haven't given this the same grace of taking down Call and Old One Eye. Old One Eye specifically because Call gets at least loan up, so you do some shenanigans and alright, yeah, it makes sense. But Old One Eye kind of pops at times. And I think I got the wrong feel of this detachment because I automatically assumed that it was going to be more inverse of the Chaos Knights one than it truly is. And we'll get to that in a second, too. With Omniscient Champion 30 points, I still don't think you take it. However, the next one, I think you do on a model that we'll get to. Knight of the Opus Machina for 20 points. You put it on Imperial Knight's model. Each time the bearer makes a ranged attack, if the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly add mech units, re-roll a hit roll of 1. Good for 20 points. Magus Quorus, 35 points. I think it's too steep, if I'm being honest, just to get the average. While the bearer is within 3 inches of one or more friendly Imperial Knights unit, it has the Lone Op ability. In your command phase, select one friendly Imperial Knights model within 3 inches of the bearer. That model regains up to 2 lost wounds. It is. You can give something else the heal, as in, this is the Imperial Knights ability, but now you are giving the Tech Priest the ability, so you get D3 plus 2 wounds back. However, the fact that you have to put it on at least, okay, Dominus or Manipulus makes it a little less appealing, and you have to kind of keep up with a 3-inch move. I think if it wasn't 35 points, I'd be more sold on it, but not really. We're not taking this either, so get past that. Now, the stratagems are where some of my hints, or where some of the hints I feel started to pop about me that I didn't necessarily catch the first time around. This is your command phase, your weapon skill or ballistic skill, ignore mods, right? This is either or, but I feel they had to make it flexible. What this really ended up being for me while looking through everything is ballistic skill modifiers. Ignore mods there, right? Aggression begets aggression. Your shooting phase, hint hint shooting phase. one Imperial Knights unit from your army, or one Imperial Knights character unit from your army, and one friendly AdMech unit within 6 inches of it. This was the other probably duh moment for me. Like, I probably should have caught this. This didn't say shit about armatures, right? It doesn't say shit about armatures. Yes, I know that Imperial Knights have more characters than they have armatures, where Chaos Knights have more War Dogs than they have characters. Right? About the same number? Anywho, all the lists for Imperial Knights still build around armatures right now. And I kind of figured that these detachments would ask you to reel back on that because now you have little people. But now it's really saying, how about you just don't take any armatures because you have little people? The armatures that you have don't necessarily do the most overall, and it gets a little bit better to that point in a sense in a second. So, sorry if you can hear my background. It's late. I live in a big city. Bonded Imperative. Your command phase just after Imperial Knight's character from your army uses a bondsman ability. That Imperial Knight's character unit. When selecting targets for that use of that bondsman ability, you can select one friendly AdMech unit within a foot of your unit in addition or instead of selecting one armature model. That was the next thing, where I think most of us read it as, all right, clearly I want to target an armature and then also AdMech. But this gives you the pass of you can, instead of doing anything with an armature, you can just select an AdMech unit and give it the bondsman that you want it, and that bondsman ability cannot be more OC on the point. Until the start of your next command phase, every model in that AdMech unit is affected by that bondsman ability. So while they haven't made it so that the big knights get bondsman, they've made it so that AdMech get bondsman, and in some instances that's okay. Yeah, I'll just say it's okay at best. It's whatever at worst, right? You don't have to do it. But once again, it says the character unit. Character unit, Titanic, right? So this should have been a little bit clearer to me that you're not looking for shit with the armatures in this detachment. Thronegeist Fury, your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit is set up or ends a normal or advanced or fallback move. A normal, advanced, or fallback move. Don't know why I added ors in there. You can overwatch with one weapon. Still have to hit on sixes within 24 inches. So, one thing that completely blanked on my mind while reading this on the first day is that Titanic units can't use Overwatch. Congratulations, you now have a way for a Titanic unit to use Overwatch. What Titanic unit, you ask? There's one that's probably popping in your head right now, and I don't disagree. But I think the next one will tie in all of the shit I just said a little bit better. Okay? So, you if you know Knights, you probably won't be surprised by what I'm about to say. If you don't know Knights, fuck it, trust me, I guess. The Knight Crusader. Um, the Bondsman ability is while a model is affected by this ability, each time that model makes a ranged attack, add one to the hit roll. So that's something you can give to your AdMech models. Just give them +1 to hit. And the jury's still out if putting them into one of the imperatives will affect the skills and shit. So giving them +1 to hit while giving them heavy, but they probably won't be utilizing heavy, but increased ballistic skill means that they go from hitting on 4s to 3s to 2s? Yeah, right? Okay, cool. So takes that to a 3, then +1 to hit would take that to 2. And I guess that's a spoiler, but kind of forgot their skill for a second. Their battle line, you expect them to be bad, but hey, you never know. Then punishing salvos. In your movement phase, if this model remains stationary, at the start of your next movement phase, this model's ranged weapons have the sustained hits 1 ability. So, my first take on this was that you are trying to out attrition your opponent. which I don't think is wrong. However, not to the degree that I originally thought. I think now you really are trying to get to a spot and hold it with the things that I'm about to show. So, with the Night Crusader, just for the sake of it, right? You get sustained hits 1 on the rapid fire battle cannon. It has blast, rapid fire d6 plus 3, 72 inches. So rapid fire at 36 inches, d6 plus 3 attacks, hidden on 3s, strength 10, AP 1, damage 3. Now, you put on Knight of the Opus Machina on the Night Crusader, who is a character. Now, while you are within 6 inches of an AdMech unit, reroll a hit roll of 1. Cool. Reroll hits for sustained, 1 on d6 plus 3 rapid fire, d6 plus 3 blast. Yeah, a lot of things should die. And since you are towering, and you got to your point to stand still because you had assault, and you were able to give it to a friendly AdMech unit within 6 inches, you stand there and you rain hell, right? And if they finally take you out, lethal hits for your unit. If you feel that you need the shootout to have no to take away mods, you feel like that's a thing that's been impacting you, maybe something I really don't know what could impact you for that, but I take that back. I take that back because it says any hit roll or wound roll made for it, and we have been having a lot of strength greater than toughness -1 to wound, character attached to unit -1 to wound. We've had a lot of that lately, so I take that back. Machine focus might actually be better than I was about to give it credit for again. And then once more for bonded imperative, if you just don't bring the armigers that are meh anyway, like you bring them because they have OC on the point, and that's just what you do. You take a bunch of those models and do the doodly do, right? But with bonded imperative, you can just give, as we already established, Skitarii hitting on 2s. And if they are hitting on 2s and around an Imperial Knight, they have reroll hit rolls of 1, reroll wound rolls of 1, and we're going to get to what can actually be probably okay. Probably okay when you factor that in. If you want to make it so that the tech priest attached can do this part 2, that's 35 points that you can use. I suggest that as a last resort. But on top of all of this, back to Thronegeist Fury, you still have access to something like this. Now, while it's not the Flamer, you can use the Flamer. I think that's enough shots to justify doing that over a Flamer. So, yeah, Night Crusader, I think, is probably the best one overall. You have a bondsman ability to use, you get sustained hits. We will talk about the Rex in the room, I guess. But going over to the AdMech side, I think you take Manipulus with Vanguards. Why? That way they get lethal hits regardless of if a knight dies or whatever the fuck. They get lethal hits, and it's out of a bondsman ability that you can put on. So rerolling 1s to hit, hitting on 2s with the right shenanigans, such as with the Crusader, and putting them into Protector. Reroll 1s to hit, hitting on 2s, lethal hits. But if you attach them to Vanguard and give them Radium Carbines, they have anti-infantry 4 up, 3 attacks each carbine. Give them reroll wound rolls of 1 while being around a knight. I think you actually just pick shit up. I think you pick up more shit than we might realize. I think you pick up more shit. And they're 95 points plus another 60, and you have 500 points to work with. I think a squad or 2 or 3 of those will help you out while your Night Crusader stands tall, 5 up invulnerable save at ranged, and heal whatever comes back. That's where the trade-off is from playing Noble Lance, right? With Noble Lance, you do have access to 6 up feel no pain, then becomes a 5 up feel no pain. But fight phase, shooting or fight phase, do you need the 4 up ranged for a big knight? I mean, you can. Do you really need it though? 2 CP, fight phase, your command phase, you can buff up something, but more or less, how badly do you need it for another 2 CP? So 2 CP here, 2 CP here. But yeah, if you become honored, right, you will gain your 3 CP. But outside of that, if you then have each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, reroll 1 hit roll, and you can reroll 1 wound roll. For everybody else, once we finally get all the things done, you're good. I really don't think that if you're taking, well, first off, I know we're not taking Questor Forgepact like that, but hear me out. If you do take it, I don't think you go for Reclaim the Realm. I think you can just call it a day with Lay Low the Tyrant, try to destroy the Warlord, and go about the cabin with the aforementioned things. Assault to get into your spot, make it so that wound rolls can't be affected. If somebody tries to do some shenaniganizing, you overwatch them for 1 CP with a pretty good weapon. And if you want, you can give them the bondsman ability of +1 to hit instead of actually taking armatures. So I think that's where you go with this. And also the reason with Vanguard on top of that is while an enemy unit, excluding vehicle units, is within 3 inches of this unit, subtract 1 from the OC characteristic of models in that unit. So not only are they putting OC on the board for you because they are battle lines, so they have to OC themselves, excuse me, for 10 models, and then you tag on Manipulus. But then you have the knights, the big knights, getting to the spots and effectively becoming Norns because an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, is around 3 inches of this unit. So yeah, I think that's don't get me wrong, you can go for the Skitarii Rangers and get sticky or scouts. You probably still want to take a squad or 2 of those um for everything to pop off. But Vanguard minus subtracting OC in combination with Manipulus lethal hits for anti-infantry and then still having things like dev wounds, access to dev wounds on a pistol, a rapid fire anti-vehicle 4-up weapon. Like I think this might be the play more than initially realized. You also have something I kind of spoiled, possibly tagging Inquisitor Draxus in here because you still can bring Imperial agents, and going with the Rangers on that one because they have a 30-inch. Their default weapon is 30 inches out. Galvanic rifle and Draxus low and op 18. +1 to the hit roll. Reroll hit rolls of 1. Reroll wound rolls of 1. If you aren't targeting Imperium or Chaos. I think this is another play, maybe an option. Maybe you don't feel that you want to take too many manipuli because you'll be getting lethal hits for knights dying anyway. Maybe you don't spec into that. Maybe you go for a more powerful, quote unquote, in the right situation, Draxus to tag onto these units. And then the Rangers, as we already said, Scout 6, sticky. That's just good. Also, ignores cover. Is good on these units. We know that. Then, of course, let's talk about the Rex in the room, as I alluded to earlier. Yeah, I think you probably still take Canis Rex. Still think so. Crits on 5s. Blast sustained hits 1. Reduce the stratagem cost. And more so than being in Noble Lands, where we're taking 2 down to 1, you're taking all the 1s down to free if you use them on Canis Rex. So, And because Canis Rex is an epic hero, can't take this unless I'm forgetting the special clause. But yeah, to that point, you make Canis Rex assault for free and just go to town. You give Canis Rex free ignore hit rolls or wound rolls. Go to town. Don't want to use this one? Maybe this one, but I think that's better spent another place, right? Um, 2d6, you can roll Snake Eyes and just feel like shit. So, there's that. I do still think you take Canis Rex, like, duh, but it's cool. Also, I wonder if Sir Hector still will trigger things once he becomes a lone up. It is an Imperial Knights unit and an Imperial Knights character. That's actually really funny. I think Sir Hector will still trigger abilities for your tech priest or your admech in general. That's actually kind of funny. I believe he's not Titanic anymore, right? But he is still an Imperial Knights character. So that's actually kind of hilarious to still pull off. Knight Paladin is another option. While a model is affected by this ability, its weapons have lethal hits and lance. Um, Good profiles, right? This is another. Maybe you don't want to take the Manipuli. I don't know why I keep doing that plural. Manipuluses. I would Manipuli. Maybe you don't want to take the Manipuli and just use a CP when you feel you need the lethal hits for them, and then lance if things are going to get a little bit more hectic. Maybe you do lethal hits onto the Skitarii Rangers that have the galvanic rifles at 30 inches and Kyria Draxis, um, Inquisitor Draxis, the way that we went from earlier. Maybe you do look into bringing a Knight Paladin. I'm looking at 405, 450, and 445, 35. Yeah, I think you have a round out of points for some of these things, some of these shenanigans. If that's just if you want to bring all three, I don't really know, but I think it's looking possible. Possible. With OC being taken away from using the Vanguard and one or two things getting stickied along the way with Rangers, possibly. I'd have to play around with points further, but I was just looking first and foremost what the fuck works. And then finally, the Knight Valiant for the Conflagration Cannon, 3d6 Flamer. If you bring it just for that, I wouldn't blame you. Just for one CP, stand in the corner, and when something gets next to you, you flamer that motherfucker, because now you have the option to, thanks to Thronegeist Fury. However, Ion Aegis is an aura, not a bondsman ability, so keep that in mind. And we're looking for not bringing armigers. So, yeah, back to the. This is nice. That's a max of 18 shots. But this is probably more consistent on what we're looking for. Like, you get a minimum of 4. And rapid fire, that's another minimum of 4. So you get a minimum of 8 shots. How many will be 6s? Who knows? But you also get sustained if you remain stationary. So, yeah, I think that's. I think Questor Forgepact. Is it going to be meta defining? Probably not. But I think I'm surprised by the possibilities that I not only didn't see and the possibilities for really goofy shenanigans. You have a healing Knight Crusader while a unit of Skitarii are fucking anti-infantry for lethal hit full rerolls just because they're standing next to my shit that is blast rapid fire d6 plus 3 72 inches d6 plus 3 hitting on 3s strength 10 AP1 damage 3. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if anybody actually tries this because I'm not nearly as down on it as I was. So, yeah, if you liked the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.